Unite the Kingdom. Quite a clever slogan there, because there's nothing really, it's not like there's any violence in that or any sort of claim. It's what most of us, I think, would want to try and do, but unite over what? Reactions from the Prime Minister, one of the world's richest men, and, of course, the Met Police. LBC's reporter Shivani Sharma was at that demo and other demos and joins in the studio. Shivani, good morning. What did you see?
Good morning, Nick. Well, Tommy Robinson said this was going to be the largest free speech festival the UK's ever seen, and his supporters certainly turned out in big numbers. More than 100,000 men, women and children took to the streets of central London. They were draped in St George's flags, Union Jacks, demanding action over levels of migration, the continued use of asylum hotels, and their belief that freedom of speech is at threat. Now, there are a number of speakers at the rally, Nick, but the name causing by far the biggest stir is tech billionaire Elon Musk, who appeared by video link. Now, he's been championed by the likes of Tommy Robinson for highlighting the grooming gang scandal over here. But at Saturday's rally, he repeatedly said that the UK government needs to be brought down, and he seemed to suggest that people need to be ready for violence.
Whether you choose violence or not, violence is coming to you. You either fight back or you die. You either fight back or you die.
Now, those comments have been widely criticised. The Lib Dem leader, Ed Davey, has even called for Musk to be sanctioned over it. And in close proximity to all of this going on was a 5,000-strong counter-protest dubbed March Against Fascism. And people there explained to me why they were marching.
I have a lot of sympathy with some of their concerns. There is a housing crisis. The NHS is falling to bits. I'm a mental health worker in the NHS, and children are waiting 4 years to get an autism assessment. That is absolutely disgusting. But it's not the refugees and asylum seekers that are causing that. It's because there's not enough money in the infrastructure, and people should be complaining up, not complaining down.
Tommy Robinson and the far right are trying to mobilise on the streets today to spread division and hatred. This is just an excuse for him to spread some of the worst types of racism and backwards ideas about blaming Muslims, refugees and migrants.
Now, 1,000 police officers were deployed on Saturday to keep the different protesters apart. But as the day went on, Nick, some of the protesters did turn violent. 26 officers injured, 24 people arrested. And the Business Secretary, Peter Kyle, told LBC yesterday that this won't be tolerated.
There were clearly some people there who were perpetrating far-right extreme ideology, but also violence against police. In a small number of people, those people, we will find them and they will be brought to justice. But I'm not going to tar the whole march with the same brush.
Now, the Prime Minister has also responded. He said, we won't stand for assaults on police officers doing their job or for people feeling intimidated on our streets because of the colour of their skin. And as you mentioned, he said our flag represents our diverse country and will never surrender it to those that use it as a symbol of violence, fear and division.
LBC Shivani Sharma reporting. Let's turn first at 9 minutes after 7 to John, now Lord Walney, who's an independent peer and former advisor on political violence and disruption to the government. And joining me now, the line from the Prime Minister, we won't surrender the flag. Your reaction to that use of language. Good morning.
Good morning, Nick. Well, if he's talking about it in relation to the far-right element in the march who may well have been coming and looking for a fight, then yes, understandable. But I think I place more store by what his minister Peter Kyle said yesterday, the importance of not tarring the whole of the march with the actions on the edges, because there were clearly many thousands of people who turned up to that demonstration to register genuine concern. And I suppose on that level, there is a parallel to the Gaza marches, where many people who were on the Gaza marches with a very different set of politics and outlook were coming because they were concerned about the situation in the Middle East. Nevertheless, there was an element there who were behaving completely unacceptably. So, yeah, look, it is a statement of fact. And of course, the flag is there for everyone. We've thankfully, I think, moved past those days where it was seen that flying an England
Yes.
flag was in some way unacceptable. And it's. I think any politician who doesn't understand that, in particularly in this current climate, is not going to be in a position of authority for very long.
Here's my concern, Lord Walney, and you know better than I. Words can be very powerful. We've seen what they can bring about in the United States last week with the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and they can stir things up. For the Prime Minister to use a word such as surrender, you only surrender when you're in a fight or in a war. I just think that's not we need to learn, as I keep saying on the show, we need to learn to be able to disagree agreeably. That seems to have gone. A language employed by the most important person, elected person in the land, I don't think helps, Lord Walney.
No, possibly not. But it is a difficult judgment when you're faced with the march. When you're faced with a march like that, where clearly there have been. I mean, it is completely unacceptable that that number of police officers were injured as part of that. What Elon Musk said, trying to raise rubble, is raise the crowd into potentially into clear incitement of violence. It is not okay. So, yeah, I mean, he's treading a line. Possibly they didn't get this. They didn't get that particular line quite right. We certainly have got to move on from that idea that I think the Prime Minister did get wrong maybe last year in suggesting he thought that the whole of these kind of demonstrations were in some way connected to the far right, because that isn't the case in this country now. The concern over asylum hotels, over the boats, goes right the way through the political mainstream, and any politician who isn't coming forward with credible ideas to be able to tackle that is in a lot of trouble.
Finally, as a former government advisor, when you hear Elon Musk saying, and I quote, what world will we be living in? Violence will come to the UK. You'll have no choice. Fight back or die. How would you respond to one of the world's richest men seeing the United Kingdom in that fashion, Lord Walney?
Well, I think Elon Musk needs to move on to his latest obsession. You look at his career and he flits from one political viewpoint to another, from one myopic obsession with rockets or with electric vehicles or with running the politics of the United States. He has an extraordinary level of talent on engineering, but I actually don't think he's going to chime with many people when he appears in front of them on a screen. I think they will think he's a foreign billionaire who really doesn't understand our politics. And
Grateful for your time. I will leave it there, John, if I may. Thank you, Lord Walney, former advisor on political violence and disruption to the government. Listening to that is Roy Ramm, who was commander of Special Operations and Metropolitan Police, also headed up the Flying Squad Serious and Organised Crimes Branch. My previous contributor, Roy, mentioned the assaults on police officers. It is believed 26. What should happen now with that? Good morning.
Good morning, Nick. What should happen is exactly what happened when I investigated the poll tax riots many years ago.
Gosh, yeah. Early 90s, as I recall.
We set up a specialist unit. We gathered all the imagery that was out there. We seized unbroadcast imagery, and we identified a very large number of those who had seriously assaulted police officers. They should be brought before the court, and they should be prosecuted as vigorously as possible. And the Met owes that to those officers, that it puts in these extraordinarily difficult situations.
Degree of nervousness there, Roy. You say you seized unbroadcast footage. Does that mean you and your colleagues go into LBC, Sky News and demand camera footage?
Not quite, Nick, but...
what do you do? How do you do it?
You go to the court and you ask for an order.
I see.
And we did that last time, I think, on something like 15 outlets.
As long as you're not doing it on your own. You know the point I was making. As long as it's court-sanctioned, then that's fair enough, isn't it?
Yeah. Get that unbroadcast material, and in fact, it might not be necessary these days because there's so much more CCTV footage available from body-worn cameras and other CCTV. But you can develop a case against these thugs and bring them to court, and the Met absolutely owes that to those officers.